Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
This is episode number 454 with Yue Xu and Julie Krafchick, an insider's look into modern dating. Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy Weiner, and welcome back to Last First Date Radio, where we believe a woman of value naturally attracts the respect that she wants in life and in love. And if you're looking to build your confidence and show up more authentically in your life, I wrote a book for you, and it's called Becoming a Woman of Value: How to Thrive in Life and Love. And it's filled with stories, tips, and exercises to help you step more fully into your value. It's available on Amazon for Kindle or paperback. And every week I bring you a tip from the book. This week's tip is step 17, which is let go of toxic people. This is one of my favorite steps. When I got divorced, I realized how many toxic people I had in my life. Like usually when you allow one, you allow others. And so the work that I do now as a dating coach and the work I do with boundaries and setting limits has helped to eradicate all the toxicity. So I just want to challenge you this week that if you have any toxic people who are in your life, really look at how can I either set limits with this person or really just walk away and go no contact, because that's usually the only way to deal with many of these people, unless they're family members, and then that's a whole other story. Before I bring our guests on, I want to invite you to join our fantastic Facebook group. It's called Your Last First Date. And we are over 3,000 women strong, and this is a heavily moderated group. In fact, one of our moderators moderates Julie and Yue's group too. Her name is Janice, and she's fantastic. And we both have similar groups, actually. We'll talk a little bit about the DateAble group because it's kind of in the same philosophy of being really open about how we look at dating, and we're interested in growth and forward movement, not in getting stuck in old rules. And if that appeals to you, I invite you to join us at Your Last First Date. And now for our fantastic guests. Yue and Julie are the hosts of DateAble. It's one of the top-rated podcasts about dating, love, and sex. They are active daters who turned dating sociologists, and they've talked to thousands of real-life daters and experts to explore modern dating culture. Why people date the way they do. Man, that's a good question. Before doing this podcast, Yue was a dating coach and Julie was an app designer. And together they have been staying dateable since 2016. Welcome to the show, Yue and Julie.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, so excited to have you. I love listening to DateAble. It's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to as I'm walking. And I love the mix of guests that you have, that you balance having real life people with experts. So we've just gone through this crazy year of Corona, the pandemic, and you started a Facebook group about dating during the pandemic, and I'm a member of the group. I love it. So through the podcast and through your Facebook group, I'd love to hear some of the biggest struggles that you've noticed that people are going through in the past year.
Other than the obvious, which are just isolation, feeling this feeling of loss of mourning their life before COVID, mourning their dating life before COVID, mourning social connection and a sense of community. But I think the biggest struggle that people are having right now is, how do I get back into the dating scene? Everybody sees the light at the end of the tunnel, but they also see that their social skills may have become a little rusty in the last year, and social cues have also become blurred. So how do I read the signals that I used to think were good signals? I don't know if they are anymore. How do I progress with a relationship when safety is still a huge concern? So the biggest challenge I think we definitely are seeing is, how do I get back into the swing of things?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are like, you know what? I haven't gotten date ready. I haven't put makeup on in a year. I've been wearing sweats and, only getting ready from the waist up, essentially, for video dates. And it's daunting to a lot of people. I think people are excited to get back out there and resume quote unquote normal life. But I think there is this level of like feeling scared about it that is happening, like Yue was just mentioning. The other thing that's interesting too is that like I think with a lot of, companies going remote and like reimagining like the future of work, this is causing a lot of people to like reevaluate like where they're living, how they want to live their lives. And I think that like uncertainty also kind of does play into your dating life, because I think if you're unsure of where you want to be, it can make dating a little more challenging when you're kind of like half in, half out and figuring things out.
Yeah, that's been an interesting, all of this is interesting, but I think that last point that you made, Julie, is I remember when I think it was Tinder had this passport where you could pick anyone in the world.
Yes.
And they made that free for a while during the pandemic. And I really thought that was a great idea, because many of us are not tethered to where we live. And I was just having a conversation this morning with someone who met somebody who lives a distance from her, and she's actually considering moving. And I thought, well, aren't you really connected to where you live? Your business is there. You have a child there. And she goes, no, I hate where I live. My child is miserable. I'd be happy to move. And so there are opportunities that have come up. And I think that if we can look at all of life as opportunity, I mean, yes, there are challenges, and we don't want to whitewash the challenges because they're big ones. We've had a lot of losses. But there are also hidden opportunities. So I love the idea that you can get up and move, but it also is like, okay, who am I? Where am I? I don't know what to do, right?
It's a lot of identity things. You know what? I totally agree with you. Like, no one's going to say that 2020 and this pandemic has been a good time. Like, no one's going to say that. But of course, you can find silver linings in everything. And I think one of the silver linings that we've seen is the community that we've established. And you're part of the Love in the Time of Corona group. And I think one of the things that I've loved about it is meeting people from all over and kind of getting out of like your bubble and seeing the different perspectives. I think people are always quick to blame where they live too for their dating problems. Oh, yeah. It's like that and the apps. Those are like the go-to, like, this is what's wrong. It has nothing to do with me. It's all about that. But then I think there's something kind of refreshing in a way that like everyone's having the same issues no matter where they live. I don't know. I know it's like not misery loves company, but at the same time, like it is kind of nice to say like, okay, this is a universal challenge. Like this might show up slightly different depending on where I live, but I'm not like alone in feeling like this, and it's not necessarily unique to my situation either.
Yeah, I mean, I think challenges do a few things. They bring us together in many ways. We looked at what happened after the World Trade Towers fell and how many people came together in New York to help each other. People who never would talk to each other were now coming together and supporting. And also, challenges really have us reevaluate what's important. And I think that we can find connection through those things that are important in our lives. And I'm seeing a lot of really smart conversations going on in both of our groups, really about like, okay, what's important to me? I used to think this was, I needed X, Y, and Z in dating. And I realized those are just preferences and they don't really matter.
Have you seen any themes or trends of particular topics that people are having epiphanies about? I think in our group, people are having epiphanies about whether they want relationships or not. I think they first joined our group thinking that this is a group for relationship-minded people. And then they saw that there was just a diversity of people who some are single, some are actually married, some are in relationships, some are not looking for marriage or relationships. So having this concentrated time in this last year, people they've had to face this question of, do I even want to be in a relationship?
Yeah, that's been an interesting one. We don't see that so much in my group, but I've definitely seen it in yours. We had a pretty heavy conversation over the last few days about body type. And
Oh, I saw that in your group.
did you?
About the short,
Short, yeah.
height shaming. Yes.
Yeah. So I added a new guideline today about no body shaming in my group, because you would think these things would be just kind of common sense, but no. And it's so interesting that what you think is important, height, I mean, especially during this time where, we are reevaluating life in general. And it's indicative of a certain way of thinking, for sure. Height is not a character trait. Height and weight, color of skin, all of those things that we think are so important. And every single person in my group who's found a relationship that was real, not a fairy tale, but like real life, has found it with somebody that was not their type. And so the type thing is a big conversation. I know you had Logan Yuri on your show, and I've had her on mine. And she talks a lot about this too. It's like this whole type conversation of they have to look a certain way, they have to have a certain income. And I know that you guys really like to open up conversations around this. So yeah, can you share any conversations you've had around any of those topics that have really been interesting and eye-opening?
Well, Logan loves the term relation shopping versus relationshipping. And we really see that with modern dating has become so much about relation shopping. You go on the apps like it's Amazon and you're searching for based on criteria of things that don't really matter to you. But I think what is a really nice change right now, because unfortunately of everything that's happening around race in America today, it is opening up conversations and having people pause to question, why is this my type? Why have I been attracted to this? Or why has this particular person not been my type? And as a result of these, I would say, challenging conversations, people are opening up their filters because they honestly can't answer where their type even comes from. And we always like to say, you only know what you know. So your type is only the people you've met, people you have not had successful relationships with. So why not open up your parameters? So it's really exciting to see these conversations happen.
Yeah, we're starting a movement, Date Without Hate, because there is so much going on, and that that applies clearly to all the racial injustices that are going on, but I think it also applies to, body image and height and like all this stuff that's out of people's control, essentially, and you're making snap judgments not knowing this person whatsoever. And I mean, I think the pandemic, a lot of us have done the work. I think there's been, I would say there's probably two groups of people. There's people that have done the work, and there's people that have kind of ignored it or just focused on how lonely they were and not really reflected inwards. And I think coming out of the pandemic, we're going to see those types of people emerge, the people that are more open-minded and, like you were saying, Sandy, aren't going to hold back a great match because their height might be a certain, I was looking at that feed, the comment on yours, and I think the woman was 5'2" and the man was 5'8", and I'm like, wait, what? This is,
I know.
It was so absurd. But it's there are those people, and you know what? We always say too, it's we can only meet people where they are. You can provide all the education and support, but it does kind of take it for you individually to have it click. And I think coming out of this pandemic, we're going to be able to, the people that have done the work are going to be able to really clearly see others that have also.
Yeah, somebody posted that Prince was 5'3". It was let's get a clue here. Put it in perspective. Yeah, it's never about height and it's never about weight. It's about our own self-judgment, really. And I think when we can bring more self-love into the picture and self-acceptance more than self-love, self-compassion, we start to blur the lines of where we used to think things were important. I mean, economics, I just finished reading Make the Move with John Berger, and he talks about dating across classes, that people used to think only, white collar can date white collar, and you have to have a college degree. If I have a college degree, that was one of the things as I started coaching was like, you look at people with a PhD as being smart. A lot of them are not, honestly. And you're overlooking all these people without college degrees who are brilliant. How many people have been successful entrepreneurs and have done amazing things without a college degree? And so we put these little parameters around people to help us stay safe and feel like we're going to get a guarantee somehow. That was another conversation that came up around a man has to love me more. What does that even mean, right?
Well, I think this is the challenge, though, is I'm assuming a lot of your listeners, too, are kind of, in their 30s to 50s, probably. And I mean, I don't want to say, I don't know how old your listeners are, but I'm assuming they're not in their, young 20s. And, right. Or I'll say that again. I'm assuming they're not in their 20s. I don't want to say young. And I think we see this a lot with our audience too, of people that are like what we call, like the two of us are elder millennials. We're like on the cusp, and a lot of it is like straddling the old advice that we've been given and old way of thinking with the new way of thinking. And there was a lot of, bad books out there that kind of confirm what you were just saying, like marry someone that loves you more. I remember that in Sex of the City as like a topic too. And it's like, it's hard to sometimes unravel these old ways of thinking, but I think we need to ask why. I mean, that's the whole premise of our podcast is ask why, then ask why again, and ask why a third time, because then you'll get to the root of what it actually is and why you're thinking that way. And is it something that you're thinking, or is it just because society and bad books told you to think that way?
Oh, yeah. There's so many reasons we need to ask why. I love that. Ask why 3 times, because we don't even realize most of the time we have these beliefs or where they came from. Like we think they're true. When we stop and really interrogate the truth of our statements and our beliefs, we start to really see things very differently.
Yeah, and I mean, to tie it back to like your earlier example about the height, like I think that there is actually a research technique like with the 3 whys, because it does, like when people first answer a question, it's kind of surface level. So like I'm thinking about the height thing, because there was a period of time that I wanted someone that was like 6 feet and above. Like I kind of went into that whole stereotype. And at first it was like, oh, I want to feel protected. And I thought that was how. Then if you take a layer deeper, you're like, I don't want to feel small, like with this I don't want to feel big. I don't want this person to feel smaller than me. And then if you go a layer deeper, it's actually, I'm not happy with the way I'm feeling. It has nothing to do with this other person. So it's like, if you can kind of like dissect it down, a lot of times we place blame on, like we were saying, the dating apps, your location, other people, where it's all stems from yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that example of really pulling it apart, because that's usually what we end up with. And the location, when that is, there are no people where I live, huh?
But it is easy to blame your location, right? It's the easiest external factor. You can just say, well, there's no inventory, or there's just no good matches out there. But again, with the pandemic, I think people have realized that it has nothing to do with where they live and what they do or who they surround themselves with. We all had to face the music, which is ourselves, and really dig deep into why am I not happy with my love life, or what can I be doing better for myself? And so that's why these conversations are evolving into something that goes beyond the superficial requirements from pre-pandemic, or at least I hope it sticks.
I think for some people it will stick, and for other people they'll just go right back. We're humans. we tend to we tend to go right back to our messes as soon as things get back to so-called normal, but we're not going
True.
to get back to normal anytime soon.
Yeah.
So,
Or at least I hope we
yeah.
can preserve some of it. Like, I
Yeah.
think, I agree. I think we're already noticing conversations like going back to kind of similar to how they were at the start of this, like before the pandemic. Like, I think the early March, April period when this first hit, people did get like really real and raw. And it has like kind of like eased up the longer it's gone on. But I guess my hope is that like at least we can take away like one positive change or one thing that like we've learned about ourselves or dating that we can maintain moving forward.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Music Unlimited. Whenever I cook, I love listening to music from the 70s, like The Grateful Dead and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and my favorite, Joni Mitchell. With Amazon Music Unlimited, I can listen to over 70 million songs and thousands of playlists and stations. And you can now stream your favorite podcasts like Last First Date Radio. You can listen to any song, anytime, anywhere, on any device, whether it's your smartphone or tablet, your PC or your Mac, Fire TV, and any Alexa-enabled device like the Amazon Echo. You will never hear or see an ad, and you can even download songs and podcasts and playlists to listen to offline. Now, for a limited time, you can get Amazon Music Unlimited for free for 90 days. Just head on over to getamazonmusic.com/lastfirstdate to claim this offer. So, Julie, you're dating, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest takeaway? What have you been applying?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is, being excited about dates again. There was a period that like, and I shouldn't say that I wasn't excited, but I think it became so standard that you would go on a date that they lost excitement and meaning. And a lot of times, like, I wouldn't even put the person's name in my phone because I'm like, oh, there's like a 50% chance I'll never see this person again.
Julie knew a lot of Tinder. Like, why?
Exactly.
Everyone's name is something Tinder. It's crazy.
Exactly. I did have that in my phone at one stage of life when I was really serial dating. But, I think, though, there is something about, like, getting excited to meet the person. Like, I think one of the challenges in the pandemic is not getting so ahead of yourself, because we have also seen that, and I've experienced it myself, that you build this person up because of a virtual connection. So I'm trying to not take that moving forward, but I am still trying to take this part where, I do talk to them on the phone at least once before meeting. I feel like at least I'm like, okay, this person and I could carry a good conversation. I'm looking forward to meeting them in person, not just like, oh, another, I got to do my quota of 3 dates a week and just knock it off. Like, I think there is like a mental mindset shift that like my time is valuable. Like, I want to meet people that add value to my life. I think also it's like I have been, living alone during this pandemic. And at first it was scary. And it's become empowering to me that I'm like, I've been able to do this on my own. Like, while maybe my goal in life isn't to be alone, if that ends up happening, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I'm perfectly happy as is. And I think that mindset, it's allowing people to come in my life that add value and not just like being with people to fill a Friday night. Like, I can do that on my own.
Yeah, adding value is huge. That's a big question. Is this person adding value? And if not,
Right, or making you feel good. I think that's like one of the things that keeps coming up on our podcast, and what I've been really trying to apply to my dating life too is like, how do I feel around this person? Like, do I like feel energized around them? Do I feel like they're like treating me like, like the lowest priority on their list? Like, I think that's really important to think about and assess beyond just, like the superficial checklist.
Yeah, how you feel is probably the most important thing. I think I just spoke to a woman in Portugal today who just finished this relationship that was so toxic. And I asked her, how did you feel when you were with him? Did you feel that, did he bring out the best in you? Did you feel your body relaxed or stressed around? She goes, oh, always stressed. Didn't bring out the best of me. I never felt safe. And I'm like, okay, these are clues.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of times, because if you're in a place of loneliness that you're just trying to like fill a void, that's when we gravitate to those types of people, because it's better than nothing. And that's like the worst place to be in my opinion, for dating.
Right, scarcity. And also it feels like attraction, because that's how a lot of people are wired, that feeling that kind of dysregulation, and anxiety feels like attraction. That's butterflies, that's excitement, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it goes back to how you view love and how you recognize love. And so this is a great opportunity for that why exercise again, digging into why do you perceive that as love? Why do you perceive that as affection? And then you'll see that it probably stems from your childhood somehow, where you were given love very inconsistently. And that's the only way you recognize it.
Yeah, so true. It all stems back to how we were raised, right?
All blame our parents.
It's not where you live or the
exactly.
apps.
People are blaming the wrong external stimulus.
Exactly. It's where you used to live.
Yeah.
It's not where you live now. But that's the whole point. It's like, okay, connect the dots, really figure out why you keep repeating these patterns, and undo it. You can undo the damage. I don't care how old you are. Like, instead of being a victim of it, we have so many choices. We're back to choice points. How are we going to deal with it? Are we going to continue to try to get that love through partners who are horrible for us and make us feel that sense of anxiety? Or are we going to work on ourselves and try to change our attraction? I know you had Ken Page on the show also, who I love, and he's been on my show. So he talks about that, you know, how he grew up with that was attraction to him, and he finally changed to attractions of inspiration instead of deprivation, which I just love that distinction too.
You know what's been so fun to see at our Facebook group is it's kind of like a movement, I think, of all these people that are going on master dates. So instead of like basically dating yourself, and it sounds really dirty if you just say it out of context, but everyone's like, I'm busy master dating. I'm master dating this weekend. Like, we get those posts all the time in our group. Like, we had one of our members, she took herself to Sonoma, to wine country, and went wine tasting herself. And she was like, you know what? I was thinking I wanted to get out. I didn't have a partner. I didn't have any friends available. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get held back because I'm single. And I think that attitude has been so refreshing to see. And, you know, it's like just being like comfortable with yourself and being able to entertain yourself and staying open to company, because by default humans are wired for relationships, whether that's romantic, platonic, familiar, whatever it is. But like, I think it's not saying that you're just because you're like spending time by yourself, it means that you're closing yourself off to relationships. But it also does mean that like you aren't going to necessarily stand for bullshit, essentially, because you're like, I could just go to wine country myself. I don't need to go with someone that's treating me horribly.
I love the whole master dating thing. I think it's such a brilliant concept. One of my sons said something really funny. This is something he learned from a male dating coach, that he'll tell women, like when he wants to hang out with them, he'll say, I'm going to be at this park. I'd love to go with you. If you want to meet me there, great. I'm going anyway. So it's kind of like, I'm going to live my life and you're welcome to join me. And I mean, if I was dating him, I would want him to ask me out properly.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know about this one.
But this is more like these friends who he's thinking of dating. Or when, like, he has one woman in his life who he used to date, and he's now in a friendship with her. So he'll say, I'd love to hang out with you sometime. And she'll say, well, I don't know. And he'll go, well, look, I'm going to be at the park and I'm taking a walk.
Yeah,
so,
I like that.
You know, it's sort of, I'm going to live my life and you're welcome to be part of it or not, but I'm not going to stop my life because you're not joining me. And I think that's that's important for all of us to take away, that we should continue to live a great life. And actually, this is usually when people find a partner, because they're out having a great time. They're
Right.
exuding joy and having fun. Yeah. So, what do we talk about now? There's so many questions. So some other trends that you've seen, like mistakes that people make in dating, especially now. What are some mistakes that you've seen?
It's hard to identify mistakes because then we're saying there are rules that they've broken. We like to rephrase this as things that people should be more cautious of or just think twice about. So some of that would be, I think we're getting back into the whole swipe culture, where you're just swiping for vanity swipes, swiping for attention. And it gets us into a really dark place when we start doing this on the regular, because you start thinking that everyone is disposable and that if you don't match with this person, there's someone better out there. So just a way to navigate around that is, we always say, like, make your swiping activity an event. So you kind of treat it like it's sacred and give yourself a limit. You should only really be talking to 2 to 3 people at a time. Don't try to balance like 7 to 10 conversations, because you're not going to go deep with anybody. And give yourself a limit. Even if the apps are giving you endless matches or endless people to look at, maybe set a time limit. I'm only going to swipe for an hour. And then at the end of the hour, I'm done. I cannot swipe any longer.
I think people are just often looking for a quick fix. Like, we hear people all the time being like, what can I do to my profile to, like, you know, bring all these matches in? And I do recognize that people have different levels. Like, some people don't get a match like ever. So I don't want to say that, like, it's not about your profile at all. Like, you obviously need to have a funnel of people coming in. But I do think that a lot of us are fixated on the wrong things. Like, we're so obsessed with, like, the first message we should send and, you know, like, having the perfect profile. And it actually causes us to hesitate and not actually be authentic and just make moves and have conversations. I'm like in the minority here, but like, I personally don't love these like really, you know, witty opening lines that I'm like, I have no idea how to respond to that, because now I feel pressure to become super witty myself. Like, just ask me how I'm doing. I don't mind if you ask me what my weekend is like. And I know some people hate that so much, and they're like, this random person doesn't care about my weekend. But that's how you would just talk if you met someone. And it does give you insight into like how they spend their time and their lifestyle. So I personally see nothing wrong with it, as long as like the conversation progresses. If it's just like, you know, that back and forth and it's not going anywhere, that's another sign. But I think so many people are putting weight on these things that really aren't important, and it's like preventing them from actually just interacting with people. Like, I think we talked about with Logan too, it's like the quicker you can get off apps, like in terms of messaging, whether that's like progressing to, you know, text, to video, to phone, or whatever, to even to in real life. Ideally, that's the goal of dating apps, is to meet in real life. I think the problem when people get so fixated on apps is that they never get out of that like messaging phase.
Yeah. Oh, man. So I love both of your comments. I think that the whole swipe culture, I just saw something, it might have been on your Facebook group, about some of the biggest complaints in online dating. And one was, you know, it takes too long, you spend hours, and
feels like a job,
feels like a job, right?
Like,
why? People,
yeah, don't make it feel like a job. Yeah, that's your decision.
Set a timer. I've even had clients do like 20 minutes, set a timer, don't make it a job. And also your attitude going in, because, you know, I've helped clients reframe from, oh my God, this is like, you know, root canal, to to like find a better metaphor. So one of them chose like amusement park, you know, like I'm entering an amusement park and I don't know, you know, what the rides are going to be like, and I'm going to have fun, and some rides I won't go on and some I will go on. Right. And it's like, if you can reframe how you're approaching it, it makes such a difference.
I mean, finding love and meeting people is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Like the hard part is when, like you have conflict that's like in a relationship. That should be the hard part. And that also, again, is the mindset you go in. If you don't think of conflict as, a pain point, that could also change how you view that. But the early stages of dating and just meeting new people should not feel like a job. Yet for whatever reason it is, it's like completely made people, want to grill people on dates. Like that date, I mean, I've been on that date. It is not fun to be on a date where someone is, unleashing all their emotional baggage and grilling you to make sure that you're not going to hurt them. Like, who wants to do that for date one? Like, let's just have fun. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that seems like a foreign concept to a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I think
So
people love to know the last page of the book before they open the book.
Yeah.
Tell me
And
how it's going to end.
I get it to some degree. It's like you don't want to like waste your time. You don't want to like go for unavailable people. I think emotionally unavailable is like the biggest buzzword right now. But at the same time, it's like you need to just get to know the person. Like I remember in our group, we had someone share like a line that she uses before she even like talks to the men that she was engaging with. And it was basically like, how did they contribute to the breakup of their last relationship? Mm-hmm. And one of the guys in the group was like, because she was like, oh, I use it to like test to see if they're self-aware and they're acknowledging, their own, how they contributed. One of the guys was like, I don't even know you. I'm not going to like tell you the truth anyways. Like,
and that doesn't sound like fun. You don't sound like a fun date.
Yeah. Like I had someone ask me like what my 5-year plan was. I'm like, I don't know. Like, are we on an interview? Like what's going on?
Right.
And it goes back to that relation shopping mindset. People feel like they have to make these really educated, informed decisions, like when they shop for a car or shop for a house. But shopping for love is not the same. You have to go with your gut feeling and intuition, and we forget to tap into our gut and our heart for that. We are all constantly looking for more information that, in the grand scheme of things, 10 years from now, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
If you're running assessments in your head, you're not present. And people can feel that. And then it doesn't matter if you want to go out with them a second time, they probably won't want to go out with you. So it's like, it's kind of like, let's do the calculations once there's actually a foundation even there.
Yeah, it's really true. And I have to admit that I've used similar lines before I got to be a smarter dater. I mean, I was really interested in seeing if people took responsibility in their lives. And so I would ask it more like, what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn from your last relationship? It wasn't quite the, tell me how you take responsibility. But what I want to hear is, my ex-wife was a horrible person. She took all my money, or I learned that I need more communication in the next relationship. I mean, that's an okay conversation to have, maybe on a second date, But I think the first date, have fun, like see if you can laugh together, do something fun. I think we also get stuck in these dates that are all the same, and the pandemic has given us many opportunities also to explore other ways of dating. Have you seen any trends in how people are meeting, the creative ways that people are dating?
I mean, we had a past guest meet on Clubhouse, I think there's a lot of online platforms. And actually, Yue and I predicted this before the pandemic. We did not predict the pandemic, but we did predict
we weren't
that psychic. But we did think that like dating apps were going to start to like simulate real life a bit more. And I think we have actually seen that like people are using different platforms. Like we even see in our Facebook group, we do happy hours in our like premium group, the Sounding Board. And people have said like, it's like Coachella. We go to different rooms or like a big house party. I'm like, Coachella might be a stretch, but like a house party, that we jump around and we talk to different people and it's all virtual. And I think like with Clubhouse and some of the other audio platforms that are coming on and, people are using TikTok to meet people. Like there's so many different ways that aren't necessarily quote unquote dating apps, but they're still apps in technology. And I think we're seeing a lot of that happen. And it's going to be really fascinating to see how that continues post back into society. And my personal belief is that I think it will stay. I think that it won't be like the only way people interact like they are now, but I do think that if you're just sitting at home on a Thursday night, like you don't have plans. Realistically, before the pandemic, we did not have plans every night of the week. We had lives that we had to maintain. So if you're sitting at home and the question is, should I watch Netflix or should I hop on Clubhouse and talk to people, or should I hop on, a DateAble, I'll plug ourselves, happy hour and interact with people. I think people are going to choose to interact with people, and it's still a way to get your social muscles going without leaving your home, which is, very convenient.
Yeah.
I think people are definitely testing their creativity. Back in the day, people had a system of how they date. They had the bar they go to, they had the drink they would get, they had the lines they would say, and COVID really shook things up, and they can't go to their normal system anymore. So we've seen people not just plan creative outdoor dates, but the creativity comes out on what do you do on these outdoor dates. It's not just hiking. Maybe it's a challenge. Maybe it's a scavenger hunt. People have to really step up their game, and we're starting to see this traditional way of courtship come back in a way, because people are taking the time to actually plan dates. What a concept. And that in itself just exercises a more creative part of your brain.
Yeah, for sure. I remember actually had Ketan on my Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago, because Janice had told me about him meeting a woman on Clubhouse, and I thought it was such a great story, and I wanted to share it with my audience because they walk around so limited as to how they're meeting people. And I think, just opening up to a meetup, I've been to meetups before the pandemic, but people have been continuing to go to meetups virtually and meeting people. And years ago, I discovered Facebook groups as a way to meet singles. And there actually are singles groups. Your group in particular is great because not only attracts men and women, but the conversations are much deeper and more less judgy. There are a lot of singles groups where the conversations are.
Oh yeah,
that was our fear starting the group. Yeah. We're like, I hope this doesn't happen. I think we've naturally weeded those people out because they probably wouldn't like our podcast. But there's definitely those out there. We've seen them. Yeah,
and so it's a great way to actually get to know a person. Whereas a dating app, you get a very small snippet of somebody who may look like that 10 years ago, and has chosen to curate some little lines that show how witty they are, or somebody else thinks they are because they wrote it for them. And on these Facebook groups, and I highly recommend everybody join your group, because it is a great way to get to know people, to get to know their heart, their soul, how they answer each other, how they support each other, the ones who step up and show leadership skills. I mean, this is what we're looking for, right?
I mean, I admit that before our Facebook group, I was never like a big Facebook group user. I was in some, but I was more of a lurker. I very rarely posted. I didn't really engage or get to know anyone. And I have just been blown away by the people in our group. And I mean, I know I have a little bit of a bias because I am the person that runs the group, but we have heard this from people that don't run the group, that are in the group too, that they feel like they've a lot of them have met up with each other, even if it's not romantic, just to we had this one person post the best post. She was like, I'm getting ready for this date. I haven't been on a date for 6 months. I'm really nervous. What should I wear? And that ended up being with another woman in the group as a friend date. And there's just been so much connection that's happened. And I personally feel like I've met a whole new group of friends this pandemic that I didn't know before, from all over the world, which is very, very exciting and interesting. And, even if it doesn't lead to romantic connection, I think it flexes your social muscles. I think it helps you connect with others. I think it helps you stay curious, learn all stuff that is going to apply when you actually meet that person too.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that in my group too, although it's not with men and women, it's only women, but women have grown first of all, in their awareness of themselves about dating because of the way we manage the group also. And many of them have formed lifelong friendships. We've had gatherings before COVID of groups in different parts of the world. I mean, it really is an amazing thing to have a group that is well run, where things don't go off the rails because somebody's paying attention. And I think that's what sets our groups apart from a lot of the groups that are out there.
Yeah, and that's the power of being part of these groups, is that we are able to control the narrative and therefore control the conversation. And it's awesome that we can control the culture of these groups in a way that aligns with ourselves, right? So it's great to see that reflection. But I agree that these conversations could go awry so easily. And I'm glad that it's not just us who are moderating. We've got Janice who's moderating, but we've also got all the members who are policing each other. Like, that's not cool to say, or, so the conversations always turn positive, and we really need those positive conversations right now.
We certainly do.
The other thing that I think has been great in there too, like we've gotten these, because our group is a split of men and women, but it's skewing more women if we were to look at the numbers. And there's been comments like all men suck or all men do this, and Janice has done a great job, our moderator, but all the other members, like Yue said, policing each other too. They're like, hey, it's not all men. There's some freaking phenomenal men in this group. I can point to 5 of them right now, and I think Janice actually calls it the gold standard. And it's like, when you do know wonderful men or women or whoever you're dating, that's when you start to, again, hold a higher standard for other people in your lives, because you're like, they do exist. It's not that, it's an urban myth that this person is out there. I can put a name to a face, and I know the way that, quality people of value speak and interact with people and have relationships, and then you can hold yourself to that standard.
That's a really good point. I think often we don't have role models. We just have this mythical, idea of fairy tale relationships with people who don't exist. Or we have terrible experiences with people who treat us poorly and who are Neanderthals. And, it's like we just, and people don't give each other a chance either. Dating is a lot of judgment. It's quick judgments, quick assessments. And if we could just slow down, and I think the pandemic has helped us with this a bit, it's taken hookups and all that stuff. All the booty calls are changed during the pandemic. And I think we've learned also what's important to us in terms of setting boundaries and safety. And I think that a lot of people are just reassessing all of those things. So I have a question about anything that surprised you that you learned since starting the podcast. Any surprises?
Oh, since starting the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we start. There's probably been so many surprises.
My biggest surprise is how much our content has evolved and where it is today. We truly started the podcast as a funny dating stories podcast. We just want to hear what people are going through. And now we are in a place where we're providing a space and a platform for everyone to tell us their different perspectives on how they view dating and how they navigate the dating scene and relationships. So I'm very proud of us for evolving our content, evolving ourselves, but I'm also just very surprised by how much our content has changed throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean, we did an episode about toxic masculinity. We've touched dating with depression. Like, those are topics that I don't think Yue and I ever planned on covering.
I would have been like, what does that even mean?
Like, how does that relate to dating? And I think I think that's the point, though, is it's like dating and relationships, especially dating, it shines such a mirror on yourself. And I think what I'm surprised by is how much of it is, on your own self. Like, you clearly need to get into relationships to relate to others too. So it can't just be all self-work or, that's going to just be you living in a fantasy land by yourself. And if that's not your end goal, then, you do need to like bring another person into the equation. But that being said, like, I think when we started, I thought it was going to be more like, yeah, let's talk about people going on dates and not like the self-love and compassion and work that actually needs to happen. I think the biggest surprise, though, to me, though, is how many similarities there are between different groups of people. When we first started, I thought our audience was going to be straight women. That's who I thought was going to listen to it. And the amount of, straight men, gay men, other like LGBTQ plus like community members, like how they all relate. Like at the end of the day, no matter what we're going through, we can find similarities with other people's experiences, even if the experience doesn't line up 100% to us. And I think that to me has been incredible. Like we did a podcast about, puppy play, and to hear someone like come back and is like, oh, I actually like realize like a revelation that I don't want to like, yuck someone's yum anymore. And, like all the stuff that you're like, you wouldn't have walked into thinking that you would get like a really important takeaway from puppy play. So it's like, that's what I think has been the most interesting to me.
That is really interesting. I think that we are all connected so much more than we think we are.
Absolutely.
And my audience is women over 40. And I have men, and I have married people, and I have gay people, and I have all people too. And I think because love is universal, emotions are universal, and the topics are universal. So I love how you started as one thing and ended up broadening so much and reaching so many people and getting so much great press. You really have achieved something amazing. And I think you're genuine. Both of you just really are authentic and genuine and curious. And I think that is really one of the appeals for me, that you bring such a variety of people and the conversations are always interesting and real.
Thank you.
It takes one to know one. So
Yeah.
right back at you, Sandy.
Thank you. So this has just been an amazing conversation, and I would love to have people find you wherever you are. So please tell us all the ways people can contact you and find you.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much on every podcast platform out there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any other apps that you listen to your podcast, you can find us. You can also go to @DateAble Podcast on social media. Instagram is probably like our most active social media platform. And then join the Love in the Time of Corona Facebook group. That's where we've been talking about this whole time. And, there's a lot going on. And then, if you love what you're seeing, we have our premium members group, the Sounding Board. But start in Love in the Time of the Corona and get to know us better. We'll start slowly, and then eventually we'll DTR and make this official with you.
Oh, that's great. I'm wondering if you're going to change the name of the group after
I was thinking
Corona.
about that.
Yeah,
we might.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking we might change it to Love in the Time of Corona and Beyond.
Yes, that was exactly
We'll just do
my
like a parentheses and beyond. Yeah, it's like hard to totally change the name of the group, but we also, it can't be, people aren't going to be like, oh, I want to be in this Love in the Time of Corona group in like 2 years once, hopefully, knock on wood, COVID is done by then.
Yeah, I like the and beyond. I switched the name. I taught a course about 5 or 6 times called Find Love During the Pandemic that started the month after the pandemic started. And then as we went on and on and on, I kept teaching it. And then I realized it's more of an and beyond course because pretty much everything I taught can be used post-pandemic. And I think your group is universal. It's not just about the coronavirus. And hopefully we will have a new normal and a beyond very soon. And we'll have to readjust everything. But you guys are constantly giving us ways to do that. So I appreciate you and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having us on, Sandy.
My pleasure. And everybody, thank you for watching. Please rate and review us if you love our show. And that always helps, as the DateAble podcast ladies know. And we hope you go on your last first date very soon.